everybody, welcome back. Today we're going to be discussing the divisions of the nervous system. Go ahead and draw along with me as I'm drawing out the divisions of the nervous system. It's going to end up looking like this when we're done, and we're going to do some more work on this in the next video, so make sure you keep a copy. Let's go all the way back to the beginning of the course when we learned about homeostasis. Remember, homeostasis is the tendency of the body to try to maintain equilibrium. We don't want to get too hot, we don't want to get too cold. We don't want to have too high calcium in the blood, we don't want to have too low calcium. So remember, when we talked about it, we talked about having a stimulus, and this was some kind of change somewhere in the body, and the stimulus would be picked up by some type of receptor and brought to control center. The control center would then make some kind of choice and would send out information to the effectors. The effectors would then carry out whatever the control center's orders were. For example, it's a very cold day today. If I went and stood outside for a little bit, my body temperature would start to fall. That change in my body temperature would be a stimulus because it's something that's outside of the accepted value. It would be picked up by a special kind of receptor that would take it to the area in my brain that is responsible for maintaining body temperature. That part of my brain would then send out some instructions to the effectors. The effectors would probably be skeletal muscle cells, which would start to contract, and that contraction would cause the generation of heat. That heat would then warm my body temperature back up, and in general, the idea is that you want to get rid of that stimulus. So if the stimulus was my body temperature is too low, muscles contracting would get rid of it. Now, we've talked about this before. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to fill in how the nervous system interacts with this idea. So we're going to get a lot more specific. So the first thing we have to talk about is we have to talk about the peripheral nervous system and the central nervous system. So the peripheral nervous system is in the periphery. It's out here. It's my body. The central nervous system consists of the brain and the spinal cord. So anything that's not brain or spinal cord is going to be in the periphery. So when you are using your nervous system, information is going to be brought in from the PNS, the peripheral nervous system, to the central nervous system, and then instructions are going to be sent back out to the periphery again. So in the case of my body temperature, my actual body gets colder. Receptors out in the body in the peripheral nervous system are going to pick up that change and send the information to my brain, because my brain really does not know what my body is doing unless my body tells it, unless the nervous system tells it what's going on. And then the CNS is going to send out a plan to fix the problem back out to the peripheral nervous system where my skeletal muscle cells are. Now, we can divide all of this into two main areas of the nervous system. So one of the big areas of the nervous system is going to be the sensory division. The other division is the motor division. So the sensory division is involved in picking up changes out in the periphery and bringing them to the CNS. And the motor division is going to be receiving signals from the CNS to take care of different problems. Now, the receptors that are going in this direction are often called sensory neurons, because they're carrying information from the sensory division to the CNS. Sometimes people will call them afferent neurons. And over here, part of the motor division, these are going to be motor neurons. Sometimes people call them efferent neurons. Now, I like to think of E as an exit because it's exiting the CNS and going back to the PNS. However you want to remember it is fine. So we now know the two main divisions of the nervous system and what types of neurons are carrying the signals in and which kind are taking them out. There are divisions within our divisions. So the sensory division can actually be divided into somatic senses and special senses. Now, whenever you hear somatic, I want you to think of general body. So I'll write that down here. Somatic senses are going to be things that are coming from your skin. Things like touch, pressure, vibration, temperature, all that kind of stuff are somatic senses. Also, from your body, so like your organs, your viscera, whether your stomach is grumbling, whether you have a cramp in your diaphragm, whether your heart is pounding, all of those things are picked up on your somatic sensory division. We also are interested in body position. So for example, if somebody were to grab you and throw you into a car with a hood over your head, even though you can't see anything, you still know whether you're upright. You still know how your limbs are oriented in relation to gravity and to the rest of your body. So the skin and the body and the position are all sort of your general body senses. Your special senses are a little bit more special though. There's only 4 of them. They are the senses of sight, hearing, taste, and smell. So all of these are special senses, and they all actually are coming from the head. So eyes, ears, mouth, and nose. And all of those are considered special senses within the sensory division. We can also divide the motor division. So one of the areas of the motor division are our somatic nervous system, somatic motor division. And remember what somatic means, that's general body. It's like nothing really all that special. And that's pretty much your skeletal muscles. So in the example that we talked about where we needed to have skeletal muscles contract to generate heat, that would be carried on a motor neuron to the somatic nervous system, which controls your skeletal muscles. The other side of the motor division is the autonomic nervous system. This can be further subdivided into its 2 components. We have the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous systems. These are often thought of, sympathetic is your fight or flight response. So a bear is chasing you, what's going to be happening? Versus your parasympathetic, which is your rest and digest. Meaning you just ate dinner and it's now time to lay down on the couch and watch Grey's Anatomy. So the types of things that these 2 areas are going to be controlling are the sympathetic nervous system is going to control your cardiac muscle. Also your smooth muscle, as well as your glands. And the parasympathetic is going to control the smooth muscle, as well as glands. And we're going to have an entire chapter that we're going to spend on the autonomic nervous system in 254. So we'll leave that for here. Now, another thing I wanted you to take a quick look at is the fact that the motor division is kind of separated out by voluntary and involuntary. So your cardiac muscle, smooth muscle, and glands are all involuntary systems, whereas the motor division that deals with the skeletal muscles are voluntary. Make sure you keep this copy. We're going to be coming back to it in the next video.
The next video is structural and functional characteristics of neurons. I'll see you then.